I stood up in a closer look this week and I walked to sort of look out the window. And obviously on this show, people don't see me standing that often. And someone wrote in, Seth has no ass. Well, let me say to you what I said to our Nana when she backed the Cutlass Supreme into the garage. Get your eyes checked. Obviously still a little bit sore about 7-gate. That's Sabrina Carpenter scandalously saying I was a 7. My spirits were lifted last week when a Jackal said I was a lesbian 9. And then this week, a Jackal chimed in to say I'm only a gay 5. Which I'm fine with. Like, don't get me wrong. I like the idea of being, attractive to the gay community. But after watching Heated Rivalry, I don't think I've got the stamina for it. I mean, that show starts fast. They get after it the second the puck drops. Oh, I should explain this sweater to our international viewers. I am not a Jets fan. I'm still a Steelers fan. But it's customary in this country when your team is eliminated from championship competition, you put on a Jets piece of clothing just to signal to people you're in mourning. This was sent to me by Ellen and Ken. I'm sure it wasn't their plan for me to, put it on and make a joke at the Jets' expense, but they're Jets fans. They're probably used to things not going according to plan. Speaking of mourning, someone wrote in this week this little 2-act play, not 2-act, this little piece of dialogue. My wife, why are you crying? Me, one of the camera operators at Late Night is leaving. My wife, what? Me through tears, bye, Buck. Someone sent in this lovely thing. It says, off to seize the day, seize misspelled, classic Jackal trap. And then at the back, leaving Late Night behind. We do have a new cameraman replaced Buck, Dan. And obviously, based on everything that's happened in this correction so far, he's a little bit quieter. Which, makes sense since we didn't hire him after he escaped from Arkham. I said last week we were going to try to catch, it was a hot week from Buck's last corrections was a hot one, and I said we should try to catch his laughs in jars. A lot of people say it's canned laughter, it's not jarred laughter. Correct, but that wasn't what I was referring to. I was actually referring to the idea that you could catch a sound in a jar and then, lid the jar and then release the sound. I technically should have said milk bottle because this whole thing I'm talking about is based on maybe my favorite ever cartoon. Which is called Deputy Droopy by the great Tex Avery. Here's the clip of what I'm talking about.
What? Ouch! Oh, ouch! Yipe! Oh, yow!
So that's what I wanted to do with Buck's laughter. Scarface wanted others to say hello to his little friend. He wasn't the one who was saying hello. That is correct. Also, a little bit of movie trivia. Scarface wasn't the first movie character to utter the line, say hello to my little friends. Glinda the Good Witch. If you're wondering why no Negroni, I'm doing dry January 15th. It's off to a pretty good start. I feel a lot better. Breakfast was hard. I said my Labubu was from Oosterbergen, a town in Belgium. And then I asked Sal, is that a real place or did you just make it up? And he said he just made it up, which is fine, except it turns out there's an Oosterbergen in Germany, not Belgium. And if the population of Oosterberken, which I looked up, is 7,000, 4,000 of them are up my ass about the fact that I said their town's from Belgium. So again, it's not my fault. So me. Someone wrote, because we joked about me being mad at dogs, somebody wrote, I hope Seth isn't actually mad at dogs. That would be awful. I'm not mad at dogs. My dog just died. I would say her body's not even cold yet, but it was always cold. Also, we were talking about people not picking up after their dogs on the streets of New York, and someone doubted that I ever deigned to pick up a Frisbee turd. And to those people, I will just say that Frisbee pooped inside because she was basically a cat. We talked about the cat that Idris Elba played in the live-action Cats and how he would never poop in the street. Someone pointed out that none of the cats from the live-action Cats would poop in the street or anywhere, for that matter, because the filmmakers had their buttholes digitally removed. Meredith sent a gift, and I showed it last week because within the gift there was a gift for Lutz. And I was such a burn on me that somebody used my P.O. box to send a gift to Lutz. So I brought it up to Lutz after corrections last week, and then classic double burn. The card to Lutz said, "Give this to Pete Gross." I said Idris Elba and Abela last week. Abela, excuse me, was the first time in late night history where the letters in the first guest's last name were entirely contained in the letters of the second guest's name. Immediately pointed out to me that just last year, Sandra Oh was the first guest and Aaron Doherty was the second guest. But then on Wednesday, we did set some real history. And I dare anyone to prove me wrong. Alan Cumming was followed by Ali Larder. First time in the history of late night that both guests' names started with AL. I just gotta give late nighters something to do. We just want to keep them busy. Sometimes people will say in the comments, which is very kind, they'll be like, "This is the one you should submit for the Emmys." I am hoping, it's possibly that it was just a mistake, but I'm hoping it was written on purpose. Somebody said, this should definitely be the one they submit for the Grammys. And I think we might. Just because how confused they'd be. You don't knit a quilt with yarn. So that's twice Sal me. Stephen Miller is not a ghost. I made a joke that he was a ghost. He's a ghoul. Apologies to the Miller family for the error. This is just a fun thing somebody pointed out because we were talking about kidnapping. They said no two words become scarier when you put them together than kid and napping. Like, just imagine you'd be like, oh, I saw a kidnapping. It was so cute. Put them together. Changes everything. If you bite it and die, it's poisonous. If it bites you and you die, it's venomous. And if you bite it and it sues you, you're Marv Albert. Was that joke too dated? Marv?
Yes.
Another way to remember that poison means you ingested it is the apple in Snow White. Because I'm gonna have to go back to that. Hey, we talked about Beverly Hill Bunce. I name dropped Beverly Hill Bunce, and someone goes, so what the hell was Beverly Hill Bunce? Somebody goes, oh, they spun off Dennis Franz's character in NYPD Blue. No, they spun off Dennis Franz's character in Hill Street Blues. So in Hill Street Blues, his last name was Bunce. And then in NYPD Blue, his last name was Sipowicz. So both of his most famous characters also had last names that started with Z. Franz, Sipowicz, Bunce. It's just a fun fact. His agent would, that was the only way he'd do it. His agent would call and be like, Dennis, we got a great part for you. And he'd be like, did it end with a Z? All right. Another way to remember that poison means you ingested it is the apple, right? Because in Snow White, it's famously poisoned. You know, you ingested the apple in Snow White, that's how you know it's poisoned, because it's famously poisoned. Except in the Russian version of Snow White. In that, the apple is venomous. Because in Russia, the apple bite you. My friend Matt Fraction is a fantastic comic book writer, and he wrote in because I said fractals don't have hands in a closer look at the end of last week. And he said fractals can have hands, and to demonstrate this, I made a fractal out of you with hands talking about fractals. Let's take a look. Then we demand that they teach our kids what a fractal is, even though we don't even know what a fractal is. I wouldn't know a fractal if it slapped me in the face, which is unlikely because I'm almost certain fractals don't have hands. He also wrote, I call it the Mandelbrot Seth, which I can assure you is technically a very funny math joke. So let us know in the comments. This is pretty cool. Shu, you know I'm a big Robert Culp fan. So somebody sent me a Robert Culp card. I Spy's Robert Culp, so that's really cool. Kind of broke this awful streak we were on. Also, I got a wedding invitation. This is a real wedding invitation. It's like, and it's Lord of the Rings themed. And I was like, feels like a strange choice. Then I read it first, the first line. Dear Stephen Colbert. Yeah, I'm going to get it to him. I'm going to get it to him. All right, well, there you go. Wasn't easy. Wasn't easy without my baby Buck. We got through it. See you next week.